I
What's
love that
going on?
music. That music sounds like something Arcade Fire wrote, and we're like, no, this is too upbeat and cheerful. Can't use
It
this.
looks like the Chamber of Commerce music for like we love Poughkeepsie, New York, or something like that. And they show you scenes of the outdoor mall and the like one day a week there's a farmers market. All right. Michael Welch is demanding reparations for not starting on time. You deserve those reparations. We'll check and give us your Venmo after the live. Our friend Roaster is here. They're just finishing up lunch. No. We were planning the segment like the football experts that we are, like the football authors that we are, Ian.
I actually finished, authors. That's right. I just finished the lunch. Here's my little kid plate that I used. But I was actually on time. It was Paul that was late. Just so
I was
knows.
actually looking up statistics and confirming some of my priors on these quarterbacks. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be breaking down every quarterback on the Texas schedule. We're going to talk about some of the challenges they're going to pose to Texas and some of the things we're going to do to solve these guys. And we're going to break down each guy. We've gone to school on all of them. We're going to break it up into 3 tranches of 4. We're going to be starting off with Brad Jackson, Julian Sayin, Owen McCown, and then the Tennessee battle between George McIntyre and Faison Brandon. But before that, you need to go to Inside Texas. Join right now for $1 American. Ian, that's 3 quarters, 2 dimes, and a nickel. And you could be a member of Inside Texas. That sounds incredibly reasonable. You could find that in your couch change. Let's make that happen and join the best Longhorn conversation on the planet. All right, we're hoping to bring you a little of the best Longhorn conversation on the planet here, breaking down these quarterbacks. Ian, we are facing an entire array of quarterbacks, ranging from some of the most athletic dual threats in college football to some of the most deadly accurate pocket passers in college football and everything in between. So don't give me a perplexed look. Don't give me that perplexed look.
Deadly pocket passers. I'm drawing a blank in my mind.
Oh, okay. Well, he's already workshopping his Julian Sayin is overrated take, which everyone's going to love to hear. But Let's get started. And let's start with the Texas State Bobcats right down the road. We used to call them Southwest Texas State, Ian, but now they're Texas State. And they have a hell of a quarterback, Brad Jackson. In fact, we're going to play 2 very good G6 quarterbacks in Brad Jackson and later in Owen McCown at UTSA. First, Mr. Jackson, have you watched his game at all? Are you familiar with Mr. Jackson, Ian?
Yeah. I'm not intimately familiar. It's funny he's from San Antonio because Texas will also play UTSA, whose guy is not from San Antonio. And UTSA and Texas State, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Paul, but they are fierce rivals.
Of us or each other?
Each other.
Ah.
I went to UTSA in my freshman year, and I went with some UTSA guys up to Texas State for a road basketball game that had like big conference implications. And we chanted Southwest High School at them. And they chanted UT Rejects back at us.
Wow.
It was a big double burn. Everybody was burned.
God, that's scorching. Awesome. Well, we're going to have some scorching hot takes on Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, if you're nasty, according to Janet. Brad Jackson threw for 3,224 yards last year, 21 touchdowns, 7 picks. But it goes a little deeper than that, Ian.
Yeah.
Completed over 70% of his passes. Guess how many touchdowns he ran for?
I'm going to guess 20.
17 touchdowns. 20 was a very ambitious guess.
Yes.
17 touchdowns, 744 yards rushing. He was their red zone offense. You and I used to enjoy and wince at the Sam Ellinger is our fullback, Tom Herman offense in the red zone. South Texas State does that with Brad Jackson. He's a very good quarterback, particularly at the G6 level. The value of that, I think, obviously we're going to overwhelm Texas State at pretty much every position. The value of that and the value of that very creative G.J. Kinney offense is that if you actually bust a coverage, they will punish you. and you'll get some film out of it that can be useful and instructive for future opponents. I'm not suggesting they're going to light us up for 28 points, but I am telling you that if you don't cover it right, Brad Jackson's going to make the throw or he's going to punish you with his legs. And it's really good prep for future quarterbacks.
It's also be a nice little window into how how Muschamp likes to deal with guys like this, because there's going to be a lot of guys like this on the schedule. And is he just going to like blitz them and be like, do your worst? I don't think we're going to hurt you worse than you hurt us when you get away. Or will he be like very containment oriented, like say Pete Kwiatkowski tended to be? I don't know. I'm very curious to see that.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Jackson, he's listed at 6 feet tall. That might be optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
So if you might have noticed on our defensive line, we're pretty damn long, particularly on the edges. So that will be very interesting. He may just struggle if we push back the O-line. Like if we just do a straight up pass rush and run through guys, we may just push the O-line back into his lap and put our hands up, and you're going to see a bunch of deflected balls and interceptions. So I'd be tempted to play zone against them and just bring 4, get after him, and then make adjustments from there. What do you think?
I don't think Muschamp plays that.
No, he doesn't.
Also, the last guy. Now instead of the opponent specific, perfectly calibrated game plan, now you're like, hey, maybe just play zone and bring 4. That's over.
Well, the thing is, we don't want to show too much because we're gonna have some interesting challenges down the road. One thing that I think is interesting about Texas State, where they could exploit that zone approach, if at least you're not playing it up, is they do run a lot of RPOs, and they're very proficient at it. So again, that's another area where our defense can get some work. And typically, if an RPO is giving you trouble, just play man is step 1 in trying to address that issue. So we'll see.
I wonder if Muschamp plays really simple, vanilla, but covers down and man on all the RPOs, and is like, let's see if I just play man outside on these guys and sit on the middle of the field with my safeties, can they actually beat our corners deep one-on-one?
I think that's the challenge for Texas State, and I think that's where we're going to learn something about our corners. Because if the Bobcat receivers are starting to win outside, then we've got to make some adjustments. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to get locked down. I think Bo Musco, Cade Phillips, Grayson Littleton, I think they're going to get in those receivers' hip pocket, and I think Mr. Jackson's not going to have anywhere to throw right away.
Yeah. So that would be good. You can stay basic. You can also set the tone for the season. And you can maybe throw off the next guy and start to build a Ohio State, whatever. We play man. We shut things down. And then, not do that against Ohio State.
Agreed. Already dissension in the chat. Someone says, I think Texas State's going to put up points on us. Blake Bryant says they're not putting up more than 14. It's not happening. So we shall see. All I will say is it's a capable offense. G.J. Kinney does a great job on that side of the ball. This is only we're talking about the quarterbacks. We're going to put up some points on Texas State. Their defense, not real good. I don't know if you guys have ever watched them, but I may have for gambling purposes, and they will give up some points. Bet the over whenever Texas State is playing ball. Are we good with Mr. Jackson and Texas State and ready to move on to the next challenge?
Let's get to it.
All right, we get to stay in Austin for this challenge. The Ohio State Buckeyes are coming in, and they have been dream killers for Texas a couple of times in recent memory. One in the playoff and then one last year. Up in Columbus, they beat us by a touchdown, kept us scoreless for 56 and a half minutes, which was not super fun. But we're here to talk about the threat that Julian Sayin poses. I mentioned an adept pocket passer, and Ian scowled at me in his inimitable style. This guy completed 77% of his passes, threw for 3,610 yards, 32 touchdowns, 8 picks. What is he but an accurate pocket passer. Ian, how dare you put scorn upon that idea?
All right, I'm not impressed.
Okay, talk to me.
Did you watch him against Indiana?
I did.
He was lost and confused. He was lost and confused at times against Texas. He had some early miscues, and Ryan Day was like, forget it. Plan B. Just run the ball. Let's motion Jeremiah Smith around to distract Texas and then just run the ball on their two deep coverages. I have not seen this guy be that sharp. I definitely have not seen him be that sharp from the pocket. When he can roll out on a conflicted defense and throw to the best receivers in the universe,
yeah,
he looks pretty good. I think that the next guy on our list could also throw for 3,500 yards if you put him in Ohio State with the same surrounding pieces.
Owen McCown, better than Julian Sayin. You heard it here.
Maybe.
All right. Interesting. So you're basically saying Sayin is a product of the system, a product of a supporting cast. When other teams were able to take away that supporting cast a little bit, he floundered.
And I just don't think
isn't that something you'd expect of a freshman quarterback who's talented in general? Isn't sort of that the growth of every young quarterback who ends up being good?
Yeah. True. Redshirt freshman, though.
Oh, well.
And also in the spring game, they ran like mostly spread sets and they didn't protect him very well. And it was not impressive. I
think what's interesting is if you look at his statistical performances against Indiana or even Miami, they're not bad. So Indiana, and let's just look at the top line passing stats, okay?
All
So
right.
against Indiana, 21 of 29 for 258, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Against Miami, 22 of 35 for 287, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Not quite as good, but the yards per attempt, fine. Accuracy, fine. What you noticed in those games, and I think this is what Ian's talking about, he would freeze in the pocket. He kind of did the baby deer, like freeze and maybe the predator won't notice me. And then he would get sacked. He got sacked multiple times in those games where, yes, the O-line broke down, but boy, Sayin didn't do much to sort of save the play. He sort of was just susceptible to what was happening around him. And what's interesting is he's not a complete statue. I mean, he's fairly mobile in the pocket.
Yeah.
He rushed for negative 44 yards last year. So not a run threat.
He's also this guy that he can execute the system really well, but when it goes bad, like if you cover their receivers and he drops back and it's like Jeremiah Smith is not wide open, then it completely monkey wrenches the whole thing. And it can just spiral out of control really fast. Kind of like we had with Quinn Ewers.
I was going to bring this up. I see some similarities between the two because Sayin, to his credit, will make some throws where you go, whoa, that was big time. That was like not a lot of guys can make that throw. Just these beautiful layered in like 20-yard, over routes, stuff like that. But you'll see a lack of pocket awareness and sometimes a lack of ability to manipulate the pocket. But that was a feature of Ewers fairly late into his career. Sayin's just starting his career. So is there any potential he gets better at this?
I doubt it.
Really?
I just don't think he's going to be good at that. But he also is short, as people are saying in the comments. From what I understand, their plan is to get him on the move a lot more this year. Maybe even under center. I don't know. And let him roll out and he will be effective at that. If you don't know how to defend it, they will cook you. So,
well, this is the time of the year where Sark needs to start working on his friend Ryan Day, quietly calling his manhood into question. Hey, we don't think you can run for 250 yards against us. Gauntlet thrown. Let's Let's see if we can lure Ryan Day into going double tight and putting Julian Sayin under center and running the ball and then going play action on third down. That sounds great to me.
They should maybe do that anyway, though, because for everything I've said about Sayin, I would say the opposite about Henry and Smith. And I would rather have safeties in the vicinity of both of those young gentlemen.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Chris Henry Jr. has been added to the Ohio State fold. I watched the Buckeyes spring game. Chris Henry Jr. is the next guy at Ohio State. Surprise, surprise. He is as physically talented as Jeremiah Smith, which is saying something. It's like saying, yeah, this guy's comparable athletically to LeBron James when he was 22, right? They're shocking how much talent they have. But that talent can be had. That talent can be covered because I think we've got a defense that's pretty well comprised to challenge them. Someone asked in the chat, KJ Lacey versus Sayin. Who you taking?
I like Lacey better, but we haven't seen him in a game, and we don't know how his smaller frame holds up. Sayin at least lasted through that whole season and played a lot of games, although they didn't have to play very many tough ones. That's another thing about Ohio State last year. So they really cakewalked through most of that season.
They did, and I got to say,
their rival was imploding at the end of the year.
That is true. Yeah, at many levels. Probably the hardest schedule at Ohio State in 30, 35 years this year.
Yeah, this next one.
This season. Yeah, they have a very difficult schedule. So we're going to find out some stuff, not only after we play Mr. Sayin early, but we're going to find out what he looks like later. I will say in his defense, such as I will offer one, yes, they did light up a bunch of bad defenses, a lot of which one of their main characteristics is they can't really run. That's the lower levels of the Big Ten don't have great team speed, particularly on their back end or their back six, right? I will say he played Penn State, which still played good defense last year, despite their record. And he was 20 of 23 for 316 with 4 touchdowns. So I think there's a stylistic aspect to this too, where if you try to play off and just cover, I think he will tear you apart. I think you've got to find ways to ratchet up the pressure, move the pocket, make a shorter guy try to see over a sea of arms. I'm not saying Texas brings 7, but I'm saying we've got to find a way to get pressure. If we can do it with 4, amazing. But if we can't get it with 4, let's bring 5.
If James Franklin wants to give Smith and Carnell Tate 8-yard cushions, then I'm not going to question Sayin's ability to throw a hitch, you know?
All right, fair enough. Anything else you want to say about Mr. Sayin, this matchup, how we might approach him as a defense?
I think it's a taunt day with a light box. I would absolutely just borrow the same Michigan formula of the last several years. Play 2 high quarters, rally to the run, rely on your D-line. I think you can get a little exotic against Sayin on passing downs and confuse him and rattle him. But on the standard downs, I would want to play it safe against the shots and make them prove they can run the ball down the field.
Do we agree that we might want to have a bias or should have a bias towards man under, like not concede Jeremiah Smith catching a 6-yard hitch, turning up the field and galloping over a guy and going for 40?
For sure.
Yeah. But 2 safeties deep at the same time, like we got your back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel the same way. This is not the game to come out in Todd Orlando zero blitz.
No, maybe on just really don't need to do that.
Yeah. That's good. Maybe a 3rd and 14. No, Ian, we've already tried that. All right. Well, I don't have anything more to say about Mr. Sayin, but I do have something to say about someone that's very important, needs to be a part of your life. That's Gabe Winslow. You can reach him at 832-557-1095. That's 832-557-1095. You got to call Gabe if you're looking for a house right now, or if you own a house and your interest rate has got a 6 or a 7 in front of it, Call Gabe. There's a high probability he can refi you for free, get you a lower payment, and you're about to start a relationship with the guy that you're going to have in your Rolodex. Do they have Rolodexes anymore? No, they don't. I sound very boomer there. He's going to be in your iPhone contacts for the rest of your life because this guy is on your side. He's a former Longhorn, or he's a current Longhorn. He's just a Longhorn alum, just like us. And he absolutely kills it in his profession. He's got over 200 Google reviews raving about the job he's done. Go to Inside Texas, and there's thread after thread whenever I put up my Everyone Gets a Trophy podcast, which he also sponsors. People just be like, Gabe is the GOAT. This guy saved my life. This is the guy you want to do business with if you're doing a mortgage. Get the best in your corner for the biggest financial decision of your life. 832-557-1095. All right. We're at the middle area of this little first four tranche. Any overriding comments before we wade into our next quality G6 quarterback?
Here's our true king.
Owen McCown.
He's all right. He's pretty good.
Ian thinks he's the finest quarterback to ever wear Roadrunner colors. Is that right?
I'm not sure about that.
That was a trick. It's Frank Harris. That's the answer.
It's just like two options.
Yeah, those are the only two options.
Yeah. I met a lot of them.
Guy is after a McCown.
When I was there that one year, UTSA would sell shirts that said UTSA football still undefeated because the program didn't exist. There was no football program until when it was like 2011 or something.
It is wild how you can just start a program and be a G6 power within 4 or 5 years. That's pretty wild.
Very, very impressive. Although it is Texas, so.
All right, let's talk about something more impressive. Owen McCown. He's a grizzled veteran. Doesn't look that way from his little picture there. He looks like he's a junior in high school and he's in the Glee Club. But he's actually a very good athlete, like all the McCowns. Surprisingly good athletes, all the McCowns that preceded him. He's thrown for 7,461 yards in his career, 61 touchdowns to 22 picks. Pretty good ratio there, Mr. Boyd. And he's completed almost 65% of his passes in his career. He is not the runner that Brad Jackson is, but he's not immobile. He can manipulate the pocket. He will move around a little bit, but he is mostly a pocket passer, and he wants to get the ball downfield to typically a pretty good group of receivers. UTSA does a good job of scouting and finding receivers. And if you're in the state of Texas, you could find a bunch of 3-star receivers who played in the spread, and a couple of those dudes are going to pan out. That's what the math says. So what do we think about Mr. McCown and what sort of threat that UTSA poses to the Texas Longhorns?
They are very serious there with Jeff Traylor. They're just about consistency and toughness. There's, I think, 2 of the 3 points of the triangle for him. I know toughness is. They are very eager to embrace Texas spread stuff and take advantage of that very thing you just mentioned. They have Amador still at receiver, who was a really good North Shore receiver on some of their legendary teams of the recent past. And then he had to play quarterback for them because one of their quarterbacks got hurt like halfway through the year. And he's that kind of, he's like a go win the game sort of athlete. And then I'm sure they have some transfer portal guys. Traylor, I think, is willing to take risks on those guys sometimes. So they have a range of their hit rate ranges pretty wildly. But I think they could be interesting. The only trick is that their offensive line is one of those, like, just Traylor tries to get the biggest guys he can find.
Yeah, who can't move. And they'll bully their fellow G5 teams. And then when they play Texas, it's like, McCown, you got to get the ball out fast every play. Yeah.
And then when you combine that with Texas playing man coverage with these guys that Muschamp has waiting in a stockpile for him at defensive back, my Owen McCown may be better than Julian Sain take will age like milk if you want, because they're just overmatched.
Well, to give you a taste of UTSA and their transfer portal, and boy, talk about a program that's not been harder hit by the dynamics of de facto free agency, the portal, NIL. I mean, UTSA lost a very good wide receiver to the aforementioned Ohio State, Devin McEwen. So UTSA has been bleeding their talent. We know that, of course, with Trey Moore. We went and got him. He was their best player on defense. He was the conference player of the year. That is the life that he's living now. I think he's regretting not taking some of those head coaching jobs 2 or 3 years ago, or even 4 or 5 years ago. But no coach has a crystal ball and quite understood all the implications of what all this was going to mean. UTSA, more than any other program, is getting exploited because Traylor does such a good job of scouting, and they get all these guys who are developmental. They show out, and then a big school comes in and says, "Hey, we'll give you $600,000." And the guy's like, "Well, can you counteroffer UTSA?" And they're like, "We got Spurs tickets and $30,000." And it's like, sayonara. So,
I don't know if the deal is that good.
Give you a little taste of what they're trying to replace their losses with at receiver. They got AJ Turner, who's a transfer from Houston Christian. And they got TJ West, who caught 3 balls at Texas Tech, along with David Amador. So, yeah, they're taking a step back. They also lost Robert Henry, who was an amazing running back for them last year, would have started for Texas. He's gone. So I think, to your point, Ian, we're just going to have such withering pressure and athletic advantages. And the thing that sucks for these guys is even when we get the lead, when we put in our second team, it doesn't get much better for you. It just doesn't. So that's going to be the tough part for the Owen McCowns and the Brad Jacksons. They're like, "Hey, we took some lumps in the first half, but now the reserves are in. I'm going to cook and put up 17 points in the fourth quarter." No, you're probably not.
Yeah. I think I'll even grant, because I hadn't heard of half the guys you just mentioned before last year. So I'll grant that Traylor could totally reload at the skill positions just with his eye for talent. But they're still going to be big and fat and slow on the offensive line and unable to stay in front of Wesley on the second string and Canoe and Justice Terry and obviously Colin Simmons, etc.
Yeah, so right now I'm calling it. If you can find that Smith Arogbo more than 0.5 sacks prop at plus 500 at DraftKings, go ahead and put a bet down on that. Smith's is going to cook in the late third quarter, Ian.
Not if you play for Texas Tech, though. Do not do that. Do not make that bet.
Yeah, true. Our final interesting competition preview is an actual competition. We're going to be playing the Tennessee Volunteers. That's going to be our SEC home opener. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere. A lot on the line for both schools. Texas has got to win that on the road. Tennessee has got to get a win over a big opponent. That's been eluding their program for the last couple of years. As much as Josh Heupel has turned it around there's been a little bit of a malaise, and they're trying to get that reversed. There's going to be 2 guys competing. George McIntyre, a 6'6" traditional pocket passer, and Faison Brandon, a 6'4", 5-star true freshman. I believe he was the number 1 quarterback recruit in the country, at least according to a couple of services. He is fluid, very mobile, great runner, and he's got pretty good touch in the passing game, but he's a true freshman. Do we think the veer and shoot, and by the way, George McIntyre, not exactly a grizzled veteran. He's a redshirt freshman. So do we think the veer and shoot could offer a quicker uptake for these 2 young quarterbacks? I mean, as long as Heupel has the gross traits, good arm, you understand the basics of the offense, can you get in there and just execute it and be all right?
No.
Talk to me. This is the guy. Talk to me.
What's that guy's name? Nico Yamaliava?
Yes.
They already ran this experiment. It was not that great.
Isn't he kind of particularly dumb?
Maybe. Okay. But I would say 5-star quarterbacks are often disproportionately dumb.
All right.
Because it's not fair to pop that picture up right after I say that.
Yeah. Not fair at all to Mr. Brandon. Dude might have been a
No.
National Merit Scholar for all we know.
Yeah, I don't. But they are often like they award 5 stars usually for physical tools,
Yes.
and super toolsy quarterbacks are often the dumbest quarterbacks, like
In that
Jackson Arnold.
they over rely on their tools to get out of trouble.
Jackson Arnold, Brett Favre for much of his life.
He was not a
obviously-
5-star quarterback, Ian. He played at Southern Mississippi, dude.
Yeah, but
He was a 2.5 star. But I agree.
nobody knew who he was because he was out of nowhere.
All right.
Nowadays, if nowadays if people watched him, they'd be like, 5 tools, whatever. This happens a lot. This happens an awful lot, where the 5-star quarterback, not only do they have to learn the college game and college defenses, which the veer and shoot is going to simplify, but they also usually have to have a major adjustment period of like relearning timing and the speed of the game. It tends to hit them really hard because they're not used to having to compensate. And then even in the veer and shoot, like most of the famous practitioners of it that were really good were had some time. Like when Nick Florence went in and threw for like 4,000 yards, he was like a 5th-year guy. Bryce Petty was I think a redshirt junior before he took the field. RG3 played early, but he didn't really blow up until his senior year.
Interesting thing to consider, and I agree. The veer and shoot, I think we would agree, is a fairly simplistic offense.
Yep.
But there's a speed of processing required to really have fluency in the simplicity. So remember, you're starting off with that little read half the time. You're going to fake that little halfback inside zone, right?
Yep.
And then you're now looking at coverages, you're counting up numbers, and it's not hard conceptually, but to do it fast is really hard. And to do it really fast against a team that's really fast, like Texas is going to be, and I mean, Muschamp's going to be trying to muddy both of their pictures, but especially if we see Faison Brandon, I think that's really tough. And let me ask you, though, a trend that we're seeing with the veer and shoot, that the extra little spice of the veer and shoot that actually really unlocked it at Baylor, like to its highest form, was when they added RG3's legs to the veer and shoot.
Uh-huh.
This guy is very fluid, and he's a big dude. He's 6'4". He moves very well. Is that something we should be a little concerned about if we're trying to play man coverage and this dude just takes off for 40?
Yeah. The fact that they haven't given the job to McIntyre yet means that he's not separating, and they're probably just looking for an excuse to make it this guy for that reason. Because when you
another indicator to that, Ian, not to interrupt you, I apologize.
Good.
They went hard in the portal. So they were very involved in the Sam Levitt sweepstakes. They went after Bo Pribula. Like Tennessee tried to get some guys in the portal, and now they're like, oh yeah, we were just, exploring the market. We believe in George McIntyre. It's like, well, your actions tell me differently.
They tried to get Aguilar back too.
They definitely tried to get Aguilar, but I would too. Aguilar played well for them.
Yeah, he was good.
He was deep ball.
He was kind of like Heupel.
I mean, Aguilar is the classic good college quarterback who doesn't have an NFL future, right?
Yep.
And they would have been pretty scary if they got him back, because Tennessee has really good receivers. They've got good guys coming back, and they've recruited extremely well. Absolute studs. Again, though, I think Tennessee can be shocking to some opponents because of that athleticism at their wide receiver spots. I don't think Texas is going to see that and be like, oh my God, we're overwhelmed. It's going to be kind of like we practice against these guys every week. So I don't think there's going to be that athletic shock that some people have when they play Tennessee's veer and shoot.
They're also like, they could spring them open, but maybe not long enough for Faison to hit them or McIntyre to hit them.
Yeah.
I ran into this in flag a few weeks ago.
Someone tried to man you up, Ian, and you went deep? Is that what happened?
This is exactly what happened.
But you couldn't connect?
Couldn't connect. I connected a couple times to the other team.
It turns out that 10-year-olds don't have super reliable arms.
I made mistakes. I had a kid wide open, and I told our kid to like pump fake and then go to it because of the safety. And I didn't give it a lot of practice looks, so I didn't realize. And then watching live, it's like pump fake, find my guy, load up, because they're small. They have to really load up to push it down the field. Yeah. And by the time the ball got there, it was like way too late. And I was like, well, I'm an idiot.
George McIntyre, if he gets the job, is not going to have to do that. He's 6'6". He's got long arms. He's very whippy in his delivery. And he's got a big arm. And in this offense, if you could throw a nice catchable go route, you're like 40% there to being an effective veer and shoot quarterback. There's some other stuff as well. But whoever we see, I think we're going to craft a custom defense accordingly. How do we want to defend the veer and shoot more globally? Because we need to figure this out, Ian. There's now 4 teams in the SEC running this freaking offense. And Tennessee is the original, right? As far as the SEC goes. How do we want to defend this in generally? Because we're going to see it again.
Against Tennessee, I'm doing single high, man under, load the box. Especially if it's face on.
I think one thing that's underappreciated about Tennessee is how effective they are running the ball. And Heupel is from the patient veer and shoot school, which if you line up with the light box, they hand it off and they take their 7 yards. And if you line up in a light box again, they hand it off again. And they're good at it. Tennessee's O-line's not always good per se, always pretty physical. They'll make those guys like fire out and lean on people. It's not just screening like veer and shoot blocking that you got from like classic 1.0 Mike Leach, Texas Tech. They actually drive people off the ball. So that's something to look for as well. But I think this is a fascinating matchup. And this is kind of why college football is so awesome and better than the NFL, in my opinion. You just see this wide array of different ways to play football. And it's a fun test for your defense, a fun test for how you approach things philosophically. Do you have any final words on how to stop the veer and shoot more globally? Is it about making a decision? Is it about saying, hey, you're not going to run, so try to throw it over the top? Or is it saying, hey, we're going to concede the run, you're just not going to hit any big plays throwing the ball? Or it seems like you get burned trying to mess with Mr. In-Between when you're defending the veer and shoot.
Yeah, for sure on that. I've seen a few different methods that work really well. Our producer was trying to feed us notes that Saban has had trouble with the veer and shoot. Well, one of his last years, Saban had Tennessee figured out.
Yeah.
Because he realized they have one guy that was really good beating him deep. So Saban would play the matchups and be like, anywhere that guy goes, we're going to play a deep safety over the half on that side. On the other side, our safety is downhill into the action. And Mike Stoops, to his rare credit, actually got that right against the Corey Coleman Baylor Bears once. So you can go that route. You can like overplay the matchups.
Well, let's forget Saban for a moment because I don't know the validity of, I mean, who cares at a certain level? I mean,
he's playing that on like he's trying to save Muschamp's system.
Well, but Muschamp comes more directly from Kirby Smart, most recently.
Kirby Smart has shut Tennessee down usually.
Well, initially Tennessee lights them up. Then Georgia adjusts. They get used to the pace. They kind of figure out what Tennessee's trying to do, and they typically shut them down in the second half. But if you watch some of these Tennessee-Georgia games, a lot of the times it's 14-3 Tennessee after the first quarter. So I'm kind of curious what that looks like for Will Muschamp. And like, what did he learn from his time at Georgia? Obviously facing Tennessee and having to deal with that multiple times.
Yeah, he faced them 22 and 23.
Yes.
As the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, but he's also been the like advisor emeritus as well, right? But we don't know how much Muschamp's been involved in the Tennessee game plans, right?
No, but like when he was the co-DC in 22 and 20, they played him. They usually like, it seems like Tennessee's method was usually we're going to play man And the wider splits, you have a narrower range of options of routes you can run.
Yep.
And so really good corners can start to figure you out and actually win the one-on-one matchups. Or your safety can overplay, the most dangerous receiver or the most likely like deep option route or whatever. So sometimes the simplicity can work against them if the other team can actually man them up outside.
So for a little context, last year, Georgia won that game 44-41 at Tennessee. It was 21-7 after the first quarter, Tennessee.
Last year, Georgia tried another method, the flyover 3-deep safety method.
Didn't work.
They were really bad at it.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to stop the run from it, and it was really ugly.
Tennessee threw for 371, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks. So there were some aspects of the flyover that did hit, right? But Chris Brazzell, 6 catches, 177 yards, 3 touches. You might want to double that guy. Fortunately, he's in the NFL now, but they bring back some kind of freak receivers. This is going to be a fascinating matchup. Going to LSU is going to be a big deal. OU is always a big deal. Ohio State is a mega game. At A&M is a mega game. I put Texas at Tennessee up there with all of those, just in terms of novelty, fun. That environment's going to be rocking. Any final thoughts as we close out on this quarterback analysis?
No, I do not have my 10-year-olds run choice routes. Somebody asked me that.
No, you don't give kids a choice.
I will tell them things like, if you can't get open, just sit and come back. Or I have one play I really like, and I'll run them on a slant across the middle. But I say, if you're running across the middle and there's no one there, sit and stop. That's it. So no, I do not.
All right. Well, I'm glad you answered that specific chat message as the final.
That's the most important question in the whole chat.
I got it.
So I had to get to it.
I got it. All right. Well, folks, this has been our quarterback analysis. We've got another 4 coming next week that are going to be equally interesting and exciting, including a certain rival and John Mateer and his magical thumb. We're going to have a lot of thoughts on those next 4 as well, because the quarterbacks get even more interesting as we go on. Hope you enjoyed this installment. We will see you over at Inside Texas, where you can join for $1 American. New members only. Old members, we love you too, but we're trying to get those new members. Join Inside Texas today. Be a part of the best Texas Longhorn conversation. And we will see you guys here at the Deep Dive next week to talk about quarterbacks 5 through 8 as we continue this installment. Ian, thank you for your insights. Rest of you, thanks for joining. Chat, you were lively and funny. We enjoyed it. And we'll see you guys next week. Adios.